Um, I just found out this is the branding clinic for November, and we're talking about naming today. And I just found out that some people didn't get the Zoom link. And so if you're listening to the recording, I apologize for that. I'm Sandra Koenig, and I was going to ask each person on the call today. There were going to be a lot more people. Here we go. There's Susan.
Hey, Libby.
Hi, Susan.
I just started the recording.
Oh, sorry.
Just so you know. And I was going to ask each person to just kind of say their name and what kind of business they have or are thinking about launching and what you're thinking about naming it, just as a place to start. Anybody want to start?
Well, I'm a coach. I'm Susan. I'm calling it Susan Motherall. So far, at least. I work with individuals mostly so far. I'll probably be working with businesses in a while. I'm thinking about a byline that's actually from a poem, and I don't know about it, but Feast on Your Life. So, or exploring the whatever from the inside out. Well, exploring life from the inside out, something like that. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, so far, everybody's on the call is a 3P person, at least. So we all have that in common. Libby, Rob, you want to say anything?
I'm still thinking of launching, I suppose. I seem to be in a period of rest and not doing a lot, which seems to be right. But I'm curious as to when it'll be over and I'll actually get off my backside and do something. But my business will be called Dr. Libby Hodges, The Best Medicine, because I'm a coach and I'm a doctor, and I coach doctors and I coach other people too. But yeah, The Best Medicine has been hanging around for a long time and kind of fits with my medical backgrounds, and I like the idea that laughter is the best medicine, and I like what I do to be fun, even though it's deep. And I have a URL, which is just libbyhodges.com, and that's about it at the moment.
Great. And I love that while you're telling us laughter is the best medicine, it looks like there's a little animal behind you.
Oh, that's Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. Now we know where Scooby-Doo is. Isn't that the phrase, Scooby-Doo, where are you?
That is kind of what my house is like. There's gonks all over the place.
They're what?
Gonks.
Gonks.
Cuddly toys.
Cats all over
Child
my
lives
house.
here, but no, just this large, oversized child.
And Rob, do you want to share what you're up to? Or what you're thinking about? Can you speak freely?
Sure. Yeah, no. Well, I'm at my office, but everybody's out to lunch right now, and it's a pretty open office environment. But Sandra, you know that I'm real involved with. I have a group that meets regularly at my house, and what's called the East Bay Three Principles. And then there's just more and more of a direction that seems to be unfolding to start some kind of a website for that. And I send out a newsletter, kind of an email. I call it my triple email every week, and I remind people about that I'm having casual meeting at my house on Tuesday nights, and then I just give updates to people about other stuff that's going on in the area. And then I'm always out trolling, Facebook and YouTube for different podcasts, like Yoga Mark with his, Ice Cream for the Soul. And there's a bunch of other podcasts that are out there. So I put links to those things in there, and I put links to whatever IPGC, 3PGC has on their website. And it's just sort of grown. But what's happened is that people really, really like the email because a lot of people don't know about this other stuff that's going on. And my intention is to try to reach out to people at this point, not in a particularly professional way, but my longer vision is to offer facilitation and coaching maybe. Right now I also coach, or I don't coach, I lead a weekly meeting down at, it's called the Indian Health Center. And it's people that come in, usually court mandated. So it's people that are in a drug rehabilitation program, or they've been arrested for some offense and they have to get, they have to attend some court mandated sessions as part of their staying out of jail, their probation requirements. And it's really, really, really been interesting. And then I helped organize a training session for volunteers. So I do a lot of different things. And, I'm not exactly going to be opening up a business, although that might be over the horizon. But the main thing for me is to kind of get a website going that's simple, that I don't have to spend a lot of time at. And I don't know whether I'll want to stay with East Bay 3 Principles, EB3P, but for now, that's probably what I'll use.
Okay, great. Thanks for explaining. That's great. Thanks, Rob. So I just appreciate you guys saying why you're here. Like there were some other people that were going to be on the call that have different kinds of businesses, because there's a lot that can go into choosing a name. And so I'm going to talk about what I've seen with naming, and then also how to think about choosing a name for people who aren't on the call, who might want to listen to this, who aren't practitioners. This morning I spent a bunch of time reading what other experts say about naming, and it's always very interesting because there's conflicting information out there for sure. And I think those of you who've worked with me, you know that if you're a practitioner, I generally recommend that you launch by using your name, because you want to build up your own reputation. And if you use another name, it can get confusing to people, or they're looking for you on the internet and they can't remember the name of your business. So having your name in there, I think, is a great strategy for somebody who's just starting out and works as an individual practitioner in pretty much any field. If that's not the case, if you really are a bigger business, or you're working as part of a team, let's say if we all banded together and decided to start a 3 Principles firm of some sort, then you do want to have a name, or something that you create that reflects the business. It's the same if you're starting a company that sells consumer goods, or maybe does business to business work. Generally, it depends on your business. What do I recommend around naming? I mean, Rob, you brought up an interesting point that I generally don't recommend that people put their location as part of the name, because it limits your business if you were to expand. Let's say you started consulting and you were consulting with people all over. Having it say East Bay, it becomes meaningless. So it just depends on your intention.
Yeah, that's been one of my concerns. It makes it very locked into a certain area.
Yeah, and I think because we're all part of this very vibrant global community, I would caution you against that. And unless you really were forming a group, I might even suggest you use your name. Now, I know a lot of the big 3 Principles teachers don't do this, and I find it very confusing trying to find their websites. Like, I end up Googling them by their names and hoping that their website comes up, because I can't remember, if it's the 3 Principles Foundation or the 3 Principles this or the, I don't remember. anyway, when you're choosing a name, it's great to think about what you really want your name to communicate. So let's say you weren't going to use your actual name. What would you want your name to communicate? And those of you who've done the branding work with me, which is Libby and Susan, you know that we really dig into what's unique about you and your business and how you start to communicate that. And if you were doing a bigger business, we would also be using that information to work with a name. Like you can use those qualities to also create a name. And it has a lot to do with the vision for your business. Like for me, for a long time, I went by Sandra Koenig Design because when you hired me, you got me. Sometimes I would get hired to go into big companies and I'd bring in a team, but essentially you were hiring me and my skills. So I always went by my name. And when I started doing the brand coaching, I still have this vision of it being a bigger business, and why I'm going with Branding Harmony, or being more of a team. Like I want it to be something bigger eventually that works with all sizes of companies. So it wouldn't just be me. And that's the decision behind why I chose what I chose. So I'd be curious if that impacts how any of you are thinking about your business right now. Like, what do you think? Okay, so there's no thoughts about that, but so you're going to say something. Okay, Susan. I can't hear you. You've muted yourself.
There, I'm sorry. I muted myself because I work out of my house and there's a lawnmower right across the street, even though I have the windows closed. And then I couldn't figure out how to unmute it. Well, it makes sense. The notion of calling yourself a bigger name makes sense if you're planning on growing a bigger business. It does make sense also to have, like, I love Libby's The Best Dr. And is it Dr. Libby Hodges, The Best Medicine? Yeah, I love that because it's got both your name and what your target is. And it reminds me of you, honey bunny. And it's so Libby. I just haven't stumbled upon anything that would be, I was going to do Dr. Motherall for a while, and that sort of fell by the wayside, at least for now.
And why did it fall by the wayside?
Well, because you kept telling me I needed my name, instead of...
Dr. Motherall sounds very serious, which is not you.
Well, I know, but the part
what do you think, Libby? You know Susan.
Well, I was just thinking, I know Susan's had the same conversation with Michael that I've had, which goes, believe you're a doctor and you're not using it.
Yeah, it's Steve Chandler also.
Yeah,
well, maybe it's Dr. Susan Motherall, but there's some way it needs to be really fun if it's yours, I think, because it's so much who you are.
Is there a Dr. Susan out there?
I don't know. I didn't
like that better than Dr. Motherall.
Yeah, I didn't look at it. I've looked at many.
These days, it's pretty tough to get short names.
All over the map. I've heard for all different kinds of takes on what is Susan going to do?
Right.
Oh,
right.
wow.
Well, anyway, we don't need to get into yours, but it's basically the basics of naming, or you want to choose a name that's going to appeal to your customers and also hopefully give some indication of what you're up to. Like you might say, like I used to have, my business was Sandra Koenig Design, and people didn't always know what kind of design, but it at least gave them a hint in the right direction. And it's also a good idea to choose something that is pleasant, like it doesn't conjure something negative, unless you have a really edgy business, like as a flamethrower or something. I don't know what it would be, but that it's inviting.
Out.
Inviting, because generally to create a business, you're creating connection. It doesn't matter how big your business is. A lot of it's about creating connection with your consumer or your client. And the name is the beginning of that. And also if you can stay away from things that are confusing. Or for a long time, there was this trend of truncating different words and mushing them together. So then you get some weird techno name that's meaningless. Like even those are confusing. You want to pick something that is relatively easy to spell. So if somebody doesn't have your card or a link on an email, they can figure out how to spell what you do. Like sometimes people use words, they'll misspell words because they can't get the URL for the word they want. And that can create a lot of confusion. I don't recommend that either, unless some big companies can get away with that. But generally a smaller entrepreneur is not such a good idea. And I wouldn't recommend being too cutesy or using puns, especially if you work internationally, because things can mean different things cross-culturally. What else? The geographic thing is a common mistake I think people make. Like saying, like I could be like San Francisco Design or something, when actually most of my clients have never been local. I just happen to live here.
And what do you make of it in a 3Ps context? Because like Dr. Libby Hodges, The Best Medicine, was just something popped into my head one day. And so I used it because it had popped into my head and I didn't have anything better. And then I went to a few marketing people who were like, oh, no, you need something better than that. And I tried for a long time to find stuff based on the advice they were giving me.
What did they tell you to do? I'm curious.
Oh, do you know, I can't even remember now. But I know even before I had any grounding in the principles, I just came back to, do you know what, this just feels good. So I'm just going to go with it. Unless something else pops into my head that's more fitting, I'm just going to stick with it.
Well, and I think that's wise. Like I also tell people when I'm working with them that if they feel strongly about something, I would trust your own wisdom for your business over any advice I give, because something else could be guiding you that's clearer than just sort of my standard, what I've seen in the branding world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not discounting that at all. It's just that sometimes you can really tie yourself in knots trying to follow the rules, can't you?
Yeah. Well, and also you want your name to be broad enough. Like one of the great things about as a practitioner starting with using your name is it doesn't box you in any way. Like let's say in 5 years, Libby, you're not just coaching doctors, you're coaching, I don't know, teenagers. I'm making it like what would be really different, or I don't know, garbage collectors. The name you're using now doesn't exclude that. Like it's one of the things I run into with Branding Harmony. I still do straightforward transformational coaching, and that does not fall under the Branding Harmony umbrella. And that's a conflict I never could really resolve. And I wonder sometimes if I should just go back to using my name for all my offerings. That's just my own wondering about naming. Because one of the things to realize is once you launch, you can't, like if you realize your name's not working, it's a good idea to change it. I mean, another thing I just want to talk about, a lot of people in the 3 Principle community, and this, for those of you listening to the recording, if you're outside this community, it's a particular philosophy that we all work from that's very profound. But in different communities, there can be these naming conventions, like 3P means nothing to people outside our community. And if you're only going to preach to the converted, then it's fine to use it. But I think if you want to reach a broader audience, you don't want to say 3P in your name because it means nothing, or even 3 principles. Like I like that Ken Manning and Robin Sharbutt use insight principle. Is that what it is? Insight principles? Because it starts to point to what the 3 principles are about without making it sound cultish,
Mm.
which the community certainly poked at a little bit for,
Mm.
because we're also adamant about it. We've seen. That's what I see.
I don't know. I think if you're teaching the principles specifically, then I think it's great to be talking about the 3 principles. But if you're not, I don't know, maybe this is just me. I feel like it hems me in a little.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I don't really talk about it in those terms. Also, sometimes I do when I'm in front of somebody, but I've kind of specifically chosen not to mark myself out as a 3 principles practitioner. Although, I mean, that is what I am
Yeah.
on one level.
Same for me, even though I would say I'm more of a 3 principles consultant or something, because I do a mixture of coaching and consulting. And they all have a category for that on the 3PGC website. And I think it's really fun to work with people who don't know the principles, because when they start to see some of what we're pointing to, it really changes things for them.
Yeah.
Like, Rob, when you think about that, does it change how you think about what you might launch as a website?
Well, it's funny, you know, I've had a few other businesses, and for example, I had a construction company, pretty small, but I struggled for a long time with what kind of name to come up for it, and I had a couple. One of them was going to be Done Yet Construction, because people are always saying, "You done yet? You done yet?" And I thought, that's too. It was going to be DUNYET, Done Yet Construction.
That's
I
funny.
just thought that's too, you know, it's too.
The thing is, you have a fabulous last name. Boy, if my last name was Friend, I would sure use it.
Yeah. Well, no, I think about it, and but I ended up naming my company Spike and Spark Construction, and it was real. People really remembered it, and it had an inner meaning, which is that, you know, electricians are called Sparky, and carpenters are called Spike. And I was a carpenter and an electrician, so it was Spike and Spark Construction, and people always remembered that name. It ended up being a great name, and my logo was a little nail and a little lightning bolt going across, and it worked really well. And I helped my brother come up with the name for his appraisal company. It was called Friends Appraisal Service Team, which was FAST, and that worked great because people take the acronyms. It's really, really common for people. And so I think a lot about what kind of an acronym, because I like the idea of something with inner freedom. George really talked about it. I know, Sandra, you were at the Minnesota conference, but he talked about the vertical dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that name, but actually it's a name for a pretty well-known company in the Northeast that does parachuting. So,
well, that's where confusion can come in. Like when you pick something that is abstract, it doesn't, especially when you're launching, you just have to have more branding support. You need to really be explaining what you're doing if it's not in the name.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was thinking about the Foundation for Inner Freedom, and there's all kinds of things like the Center for Inner Freedom. Nonviolent Communication has an organization called the Foundation for Inner Freedom and Peace. So I thought, well, inner freedom is just too global. You know, it means a lot, but it's used in all kinds of different contexts.
Well, and who's your audience? Like, for me, living in Northern California and, feel like I'm embedded in the land of the new age, the aging new agers.
Right.
Like, when somebody says inner freedom, I just kind of want to go like,
right.
Don't talk to me about
right.
it.
It's too cliched. Even if it ultimately behind it has meaning, but up front. And Friend, I have to be careful with my name because it sounds, it can be also like people ask me all the time, is that your real name? Is that like you know, Rainbow Sunshine? You know, is it one of those kind of new age names?
I wouldn't worry about that
Yeah, but
because it is your name.
it is my name.
like, it's your name.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
it has a nice connotation.
no, it does.
It's
So
like
I
if
am
my
trying
last
to
name
think of,
was Sunshine, I would use it.
so I am
Okay.
trying to think of something that has friend in it. And at the same time, I still kind of want to keep East Bay Three Principles as a sort of a loose confederation, but that my piece with, you know, what I do would be something that has my name in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just outside of the Bay Area, most people wouldn't know what East Bay means. It's
No.
the area. It's Berkeley, Oakland,
Yeah.
a bunch of towns on the eastern side of the Bay Area.
Yeah. So the other piece though is that there's a real common tendency for people to acronize a name. If there's any combination of vowels and consonants, or even if it's all consonants, so you have to be.
Well, if it's a longer name, for sure, you can.
Yeah.
But generally, those kind of acronyms are generated by the business. Like,
Yeah.
they're promoting it that way. So it's like a preference.
Yeah.
Which it gets really tricky because, man, you got to come up with a good name and a great acronym. It's fairly complicated.
Yeah, like Fremont
you think
Area
about the
Rapid
principles-
Transit.
And the simplicity behind the principles. Like, what's ultimately important? It's the feeling
That's
behind the name, the feeling.
Yeah.
And why are you giggling, Susan?
Oh, I'm getting all sorts of possibilities.
Well, Susan and I did
My
explore.
last name is Motherall, Rob, and I'm thinking about Mother of All's Magic. That was the last one.
Susan explored some rather outrageous names at different points.
I have, and I have a long list of fallen names at GoDaddy.
Well, and the thing is, one of those things, like let's say, so you're going to launch using your name, but you've come up with these other names. As a coach, those could be potential programs or groups you run. Those crazy names you've created that would appeal to certain audiences, say like the Mama Gina crowd that you know so well, or you're not saying anything.
I don't have a
I
name for that right now. So
think, when Susan, your name comes up on the screen, I can see your name, I can see Libby Hodges, I can see Sandra's whole name, Sandra Koenig. It's a very unique name. I've never heard that name. And it, I don't know. It seems like there ought to be some kind of way to bring that in because it's very memorable. And who is it that most of us turn to in times of great distress? And most people, it's our mothers, so there's something very powerful about Mother All.
I think that's a complicated thing because for some of us, I hesitate to say this because we recorded, our mother isn't necessarily who we turn to.
No.
I love my mother,
What's a good mother?
my mother's not so good under.
I could call Susan the good mother.
Right.
Oh, that's right. Susan, the good mother of all.
Possibility.
Right.
Oh, Lord.
Like the good witch, the good mother.
Good
Yes.
mother. Susan Good
Susan,
Mother.
The good witch. Not the wicked witch.
You're the Glenda. They're the Glenda version of the mothers.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
So I also wanted to talk about, choosing a name and getting a URL. Like ideally, whatever you name your business, you can also get the URL. It's not always the case. And for a long time, it was recommended in general that you get .com as your, whatever they call that little thing at the end of the URL. There's a word for it.
Traffic.
Huh? What'd you say, Susan?
I think it's just a suffix, isn't it?
Yeah, suffix. So, but more and more .coms are hard to get. And so if you can get something else meaningful, like there was somebody in my group that could get her name with .life at the end, and that was meaningful for the way this person was branding. And it actually created a pretty cool URL. So you can also be creative with that, because hopefully you're going to be sharing your URL. I think your cat turned off your camera, Susan.
No, actually, I turned it off because my internet's unstable.
Okay.
Okay. Because you all were going into slow motion.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you want to try to get the URL for whatever you're naming, and that can be complicated. You also want to make sure that you're not choosing a name that's very similar to one that's already out there. If you're not using your actual name, I know, like in the branding world, there's a lot of companies that are branding this and brand that. But I did want to use the word brand because it very much identifies what I do. So I wanted that to be part of my name. Yeah. You guys have any questions?
Just wonder what you think is just slightly off from this, but going back to the best medicine, actually the best medicine kind of works for all the sort of work that I do at the moment. So it works for my coaching. I still do locum freelance as a doctor, so it works for that.
Yeah.
I appraise doctors as part of our formal appraisal system.
Oh.
It works with that. And I teach as well. I teach junior doctors and support them. And somebody was suggesting to me that when I put my website together, that I should be marking out all these areas on my website as what I do, which I hadn't really thought about doing because I want my website to be about my coaching. And I really wanted to downplay some of the other stuff and focus more on spending more of my time with the coaching. I didn't want people to get confused.
Well, that's part of your business. It sounds like you want to build.
It is. I mean, this person was saying, well, actually, it builds credibility for you if people can see that you're doing all these other things. But I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
Well, do you want people, let's say if I'm in the UK and I'm sick, do you want me to look you up and call and make an appointment?
No.
Doctor appointment. Well, what occurs to me is, I think what you could do is in your bio on the About page, you could write about you do these other things through the National Health System or however you do them. You don't have to market them on the website if that's not what you're interested in doing. It sounds like you're so established in that you don't need a website for that.
No, I don't. No, I've got more than enough work. And yeah, sometimes I've even felt this year with Facebook, I've been, for most of this year, I've much more had my foot in the NHS camp. And at the moment, the government are picking a fight with doctors big time. So I've been sharing a lot of articles in support of the doctors on that. And part of me thinks, people are going to forget that I coach because all they see from me is stuff about being a doctor. So I really want to, once I decide I am going forward and doing this, I want to be giving one message out, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, you might also consider starting a Facebook page for your business where you might be sharing some of the health-oriented stuff, but also things about coaching.
Yeah, I have one.
You do?
I just don't post on it very often.
I have to go look at it. I don't post very much to mine either.
You're a fan of mine.
There's so many different ways to contact people these days. Like, I'm sure I would have liked your page if you invited me to. And I don't actually spend that much time on Facebook, so I'm rarely seeing when people post. I wouldn't know.
No, I haven't haven't put very much on there this year. Sometimes if I do a blog, I'll post it to my Facebook page as well as to my profile. If Michael writes something interesting, I'll often put a link to that on my Facebook page, or Garrett, or if I see interesting articles, I'll sometimes share them. But I haven't had much of my own original stuff on it, and it's not very active at all.
Yeah, I mean, that was the other thing I wanted to suggest. Like, when you do come up with a name that you like, to go ahead and sort of claim it in social media. Like on Facebook, you can pretty much name a page anything you want. I guess they won't give it to you if there is somebody with the exact same name. I'm not sure. But say on Twitter, if you use Twitter or Pinterest, to start establishing that name anywhere that you're active. Like, I have a Branding Harmony account on Twitter. Not that I really tweet either. And when I get busy, I'm not that engaged in social media, which isn't necessarily the best business strategy. But at least I've got it. I'm prepared when I'm ready to do it, start doing it more. Any other questions? Thoughts? Comments?
What are the options for the suffixes? Obviously you got .com, .net, .org.
There's all the country codes. Like, there is .us, there's .uk. Is it .co.uk or is it just .uk?
It was .co.uk. I think they've also launched .uk now.
And there's
.tv. If you do a lot of videos, it's quite a good one.
What is it?
.tv.
Yeah, TV. There's .biz. Generally, in the early days of the internet, there was .com for business, .org for nonprofits. Not that, although it's gotten all blurred, because basically you can just be .org and not be a nonprofit. But generally, that was what distinguished nonprofits from. And then there was .net. It had more to do with communities and networks. But that also, it's become not a big, people aren't that discriminate in how they choose those suffixes.
Well, and I'm actually on GoDaddy because I decided to look if Dr. Motherall was taken, or Dr. Susan, and they're all .guru, .singles, .photography, .club, .clothing, .land. I mean, there are a million.
Oh, they've really expanded it.
Yeah, .dog. Susan Motherall .dog.
Oh my God, I'll have to tell Nicola so that, what's his name?
Oh, that's a good idea for her.
What's her dog's name? I can't remember. He used to post on Facebook all the time.
Well, he's got his own
Digger.
Facebook page.
Digger.dog.
Digger.dog. .win, .website, .rocks.
I go to BrandingHarmony.rocks.
What? That's pretty cool.
That sounds more like you, Susan. Dr. Motherall.rocks is more along the lines of you.
It is. Or Susan Motherall.rock.
One that really creates more of a personality.
I like that. I didn't hear it that way. I saw big rocks.
There's a lot of different images.
I thought it's good for the penitentiary,
There's a lot of different things.
Oh, there are many different whatever of this. Okay. Anyway, I like that. I like actually Susan Motherall.rocks. Oh, Lord.
Oh. Well, the great thing about the internet is you can have all the weird and wacky URLs you want and have them all point to the same website.
Yes.
But generally, I still recommend, if you can get .com, get it. Especially since none of us are, 22. Especially in the older generations. Now that we're old. It's just more established. It sounds more established.
Well, plus, if you don't remember it, then if it's not easy to remember, then other people will have .com, and people will get confused.
People will go to .com first. They still do.
Yeah. And if they can't find you, it seems to me that's not very useful.
Well, and the great thing about using your name, if somebody ever wants to find you and they just Google your name, your website should be the first thing that pops up if you're using your name.
Mm. I like Susan Mother Rocks. I really do. Here I'm going on a
I
whole.
want to see music videos if you do that.
Yeah. Where are we going today? What hat are you wearing today?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to pop, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to see you all.
Right. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for. Thanks. Bye.
I was thinking maybe we should wrap up if there aren't any more questions. I'm happy to hang out longer. I don't have a lot more to say. I think of naming as being pretty simple. Like, you want to create a good feeling about your business from the get-go. And the simplest thing if you're trying to establish yourself is to use your name, if you're a practitioner of any sort.
Well, I shall stick with what I've got for the moment then.
I love what you've got, Libby. I think it's great. Any questions or comments, Rob?
No, I think part of it for me, I found, I've done this a few times of trying to come up with names in it. And I think what you're saying here, and I'm maybe just putting words in your mouth, but it seems that sometimes like the process of really trying to find a name helps you anchor what it is you're doing. That's part of the problem I have with my name, although it's a good name. I like it. It doesn't say anything. If it's just, robfriend.com isn't going to tell anybody. Actually, there is a robfriend.com, and it's a ecological consulting company that's in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob Friend, if you ever search him on the internet, he's a real famous soccer star. So that's what you always find.
But what would you could qualify it in some way, couldn't you? Rob Friend.
Not the soccer star. Rob Friend, not soccer.
Well, if you know what your business is primarily about, if it's coaching or if it's consulting.
Rob Friend Coaching, right. So you put your name and then what it is.
A descriptor, that's
a
a
descriptor. Yeah.
And not that you have to. You can have a trickier name. It just takes more support.
Yeah.
So that people know they're hiring you.
Right.
You want to be really clear what your business is about and have the name be appropriate.
Yeah.
Like I think of Apple, I think everybody knows I'm kind of a fan of Apple, but it's great that they have this short name that's a common word. But the idea behind the apple was the apple falling on Newton's head. Like there was a real idea behind it that was seen in the original logo, which almost nobody saw, was this funky hand-drawn illustration of Newton and the apple falling. And it very quickly became just an apple.
Now it's an apple with a bite out of it.
Yeah, it's always been an apple with a bite out of it. But,
it has been, yeah. Even the one falling on his head?
I don't know. I'd have to look at it pretty closely.
Yeah,
it's a funky illustration. I'm not sure if Steve Jobs did it or who did it.
Yeah.
But there was an idea behind it. And the thing is, for the most part, people don't know that there's an idea, but that's like a big company. It doesn't even matter that they're Apple. But when you're starting out, it does matter. Like if you were just starting out and Apple was the name of your company, I'd want you to tell the story behind it. And how does that add value or create the feeling of connection? Whatever that is. Like if you're
When you
industry
have
or
a good,
technology wanting investors. Like, does it connect to the investors? It really depends on your audience.
when you have a good name, it really, people remember it and it really sinks in. You know, the name that I had for my construction company, everybody always remembered it. And they loved it. They thought it was clever and cute, and it wasn't too cutesy. And it also had kind of a secret little side to it, which only people in construction knew.
Yeah, because for me, when you said it, it was meaningless to me.
Right,
Because I wouldn't know those are nicknames for those kinds of
right.
work.
But it had that onomatopoetic quality of, you know, the alliterative quality of spike and spark.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in any case, it just worked. But so I think I just have to kind of stay attuned for what comes in.
And there's nothing wrong with the East Bay 3P, whatever you want to call it. It's just
Yeah.
if you're going to keep doing exactly what you do now, that totally fits.
Yeah. Well, someday I want it to be more of an umbrella for people in the Bay Area that I could, you know, all the different kinds of coaches and facilitators. It could be something that somebody could find that list of all the different, because there's a whole bunch of them. There's all kinds of people hiding in the woodwork in the Bay Area that are three principles people, and they have businesses, and it's like nobody knows where they are.
Yeah, I know. They're like, this used to be the hub.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And now it's kind of like you got to look under rocks to find people.
a lot of them are getting older. Like Clyde talks about that.
Yeah. So.
Anyway, thanks
Okay.
you guys. Great conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Libby.
Appreciate you guys
Yeah,
being here. And I'll see you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.